take it. Got it! Boston wins! Two legends in basketball analysis with over 70 years combined experience. This is the Bob Ryan and Jeff Goodman podcast. NBA, some college.
Okay, folks, it's that time. Bob Ryan, Gary Tanguay pod brought to you by Prize Picks, the exclusive daily fantasy partner of the CLNS Media Network. Pick more, pick less with Prize Picks. Bob Ryan venturing into the Garden to see the Celtics and the Bulls. Just your thoughts on the whole shebang.
Well, the overview from a neutral standpoint, if I had no stake in the game, I had no dog in the hunt, is that it's a quintessential modern NBA game in which the teams took more threes than twos and substantially more. And the Boston Celtics took 56 threes and 41 twos, making only 14 of those 56 for an abysmal 25% shooting percentage. The Bulls took 52 threes and 42 twos. They made 19 of theirs for a 36.5. Both were substantially over 50% in the twos. The Celtics were 24 for 41, and the Bulls were 23 for 42. But of course, it's a three-point world. Okay, so that's just an observation about the nature of the game. The Celtics, at one point, I know they were 11 for 47. I mean, they were off all night. And you know who got him? The only guy, like ray of hope, was of course Pritchard come off the bench and hit a couple in early on. Anyway, okay. But the thing that disturbed me about the game, because that's going to happen. They're going to have nights still left when they're going to shoot ridiculously good from the floor as they did opening night. But these other nights are going to happen, and you have to find another way to win. And in fact, they did go inside to Porzingis with effectiveness, but the rest of it was all one-on-one, trying to get to the hoop. I'm still waiting to see a play, Gary. I don't know. I don't see anything that looks like a play.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, that's when they get in trouble, Bob. We know that.
Well, okay. Now, however, that wasn't the most disturbing thing. I can accept that that's the way of the world in the NBA. You make them, you miss them. Doc, long ago when he was here, called it a make-miss league. I don't know if he gets credit for that, but somebody has to get credit for calling it a make-miss league. But if you're going to play that way on offense, you better get your butt back on defense.
Right.
And the thing that annoyed me last night as a fan and an observer, the Celtics' transition defense was horse bleep all night long. And in their half-court defense against drives to the hoop was very mediocre. I don't know. Unfortunately, nobody annotated for us how many layups they made. But I'm telling you, they had a lot of layups, and most of them were highly unforgivable. They should, and that's why that, as much as any other reasons why they lost the game. A next thing is offensive rebounding. Once again, I don't have the annotation of how many second chance 3-pointers they had, but they had at least 2 and maybe more. And they're down. And of course, long ago, Rick Pitino, back 30 years ago, identified that the most fruitful time for a 3-point shot is on an offensive rebound. And everybody's collapsed and the guy drifts out. Okay, well, they gave up some very damaging, hurtful, including a third chance, I remember once, offensive rebounding 3. So those two things, if they got back on defense and cleaned up the boards, they still could have won that game despite their abysmal 3-point shooting. So now we get to the thing that there's no rational, defense for. It's a 3-point game. They're down by 3. I don't know how much time was left. I'm very much mad. 5 minutes, whatever. It doesn't matter. And Peyton Pritchard, who did it at least twice last night, created a wonderful opportunity with hustle and scrap and got a jump ball. And before they threw the ball up, and he was going to lose the tap because he's 6'1", he's going to lose it anyway. But still, Tony Brothers tees up Jaylen Brown.
Oh.
Now, what was he pitching about? I don't know, because there was no foul committed on Pritchard, so don't give me that. I don't know what he was bitching about. He gets a T. So that Zach LaVine goes down the other end of the floor, makes the 1 point. They come back somewhere in the midst of here, another T. And I forget the sequence. Missoula had one, and he had to be restrained by Sam Cassell from rushing the floor. He was really hot. Well, yeah. LaVine hits the free throw, and then what do you think's the worst case scenario? They got a 5-point possession.
Right.
The game goes from 3 to 8 without changing the ball, and that was the game. They never dug out of that hole. Okay, and then there was another T on Tatum along the way. So they had 3 T's in the last 5 minutes in a close game.
And that's just, it's so disappointing when you see that, because obviously it's frustration, but what it looks like is poor sportsmanship.
And it looks like it's class. I mean, common sense. I mean, these are the defending champions. It was awful. It was a very blah night. Obviously a very blah night. And I got up headed to the elevator. I was up in the Halo with about 10 seconds to go as we're dribbling out the clock. But then when the people came that had stayed at the end of the game, apparently at the end of the game, Missoula was ready to go after Tony Brothers again, and they had to restrain him. Nice to know he's got a pulse. That's good. But an emotion. There's an emotion.
Well, yeah. I mean, when your team, let's break this down in a couple of ways here, Bob. First of all, of the 3 events that you just mentioned, I'll tell you which one bothers me the most. But which one bothers you the most looking ahead for the team?
All right. I'm going to dismiss the technical thing as a, aberration. They'll recognize the stupidity.
It happens, right?
I would be very surprised if we see anything like that at a crucial point of a game ever again this year.
Agreed. I'm with you on
that. This will be brought up, and they'll no, we can't do that. And if they really think about it, you can say that cost them the game, because it cost them any chance. They never dug out of that hole.
Correct.
It's that transition defense that bothers me. That there's no excuse for that, and I'm sorry, and that's effort, that's concentration, that's not good. Offensive rebounding, sometimes it's lucky offensive long rebounds and all, but that wasn't the case. They're almost a tie, but if I had to pick one, it would be the transition defense. And because that game was still winnable, as poorly as they were shooting, they did have at least one relatively late 3-point lead, and that game was totally winnable. But I'd love to know the numbers, but there were way too many layups.
Well, defense is effort, and who said it for the Knicks? Effort's a funny thing. Sometimes you have it, sometimes you don't. I gotta Google it, but. Okay. That's just it. I mean, effort if there are times where you're going to you're not going to make shots. Yeah. You may lose your composure for whatever reason. You're having a bad day, but defense is effort. The thing that worries me that I'll bring up is it's not the fact that they were missing so many threes, is that they continued to shoot it.
Well, that's who they are now. But
I know, but correct me if I'm wrong. During the playoffs last year, and I'd have to look at the numbers, I don't remember them being so dependent on the 3. I remember Tatum going to the basket or Brown going to the basket. I don't remember it being this egregious.
Yeah, well,
I'd have to look at the numbers. Maybe that's in my own mind.
See, they did throw the ball into Porzingis a couple of times to score.
Right.
And that's what I want to see more. Maybe a few more of those would have been enough.
If you're 5 for 25 from 3, it's time to start going to the basket.
It's at 25% last night. That's
ridiculous. So that's my concern. I know what you're saying about the D. Guys have a bad night. You can always play good defense. That you can control that, unless you're physically ill.
Well, no,
but going to the well with the threes is if you start. That's the crazy thing about it, though, with the 3-point shot or with any offense. If you force it, it never works. If you go to the other game and if you go and play inside out, then I'm telling you every time, the ball's going to bounce out to the perimeter. Somebody's going to make a 3 and they get rolling. Yep. If you keep going to the well, it's not going to work. It's when you go away, you try other stuff, and then it just organically comes back. That's what I think.
Now, another takeaway from the game, they had no answer for Zach LaVine, who had 36 points, well-earned 36 points.
How do you rank him, Bob?
Well, that's what I'm bringing up here.
Okay.
I'm very curious. He's now in year number 11. Okay, he's older than you think. He came in at age 19 after 1 year at UCLA, and I picked up on him at UCLA.
I remember that.
This kid's good, and I remember thinking at the time, I just for him I identified there was something. I said, "Kid, don't come out. You at least stay another year."
Right.
You know, but he did, and he came out. Okay, Zach LaVine is 29 years old now, and he's a career 20 point a game guy, under the radar.
Wow.
He's a career 51% shooter. He's a career 38% 3-point shooter. He's a two-time All-Star, and of course, to some people, all they know about him, he's a two-time slam dunk champion. He won back-to-back at one point. My point is this, though. Do you have any clue what the knock is? If there's a knock, and why is he always the subject of endless trade discussion? Is it the salary? Because he does get $43 million.
Yeah, but I'd have to look at the numbers. $43 million doesn't.
But what's the knock on him? I don't know.
You know what? I think he's one of the. He's more than a tweener. I think he's one of those guys that if you're looking to make a deal, and you put him I don't think people view him as someone who's going to win you a championship.
Right. Oh no!
But because of the numbers and he is a very good player, he can make a deal much more palatable.
Well, he is in fact right. He is the best player on this team. This
right.
team,
he's a great player on a mediocre team. 13
and 16 team, and they have been in that rut for a few years now, and he's been the best player. So I see that argument. What an asset if he could be. I'm trying to think of a good analogy. I won't say Brown to Tatum. No, but some team where he'd be the number 2 guy, giving him 20 points a game.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, he was great last night, and he wasn't just making open threes. He made contested threes, open threes. He had a wonderful game. If you knew nothing about him, you'd say, "Wow, that guy! Oh, who's that guy?" And I'm looking at him, I'm saying, "Wow, that he is pretty good." So yeah, okay. So that's the other takeaway. Now, what's interesting here, Gary, is that guess who their next opponent is?
I haven't even looked.
They're at Chicago Saturday night.
Oh, they're back. Okay, that's one of those deals.
That will bear watching. We're going to.
Well, yeah, they should go out. Listen, then they should go out and spank them. They should go out and put the wood to them.
They should do it and get back on defense. So that's my takeaway there. Okay.
All right, Bob. Before we get to the Hall of Fame discussion, we do want to talk about Dick van Arsdale, who passed away. I have to tell you that Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in award winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. Just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 200 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks, America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. Make your holidays bigger and brighter with Prize Picks. Join now during the holiday season, and Prize Picks is giving away 2 free picks in December, and they're giving away $30+ million in rewards during Pickmas. And it's the best place to get real money action while watching your favorite sports. And as I said, you can win up to 200 times your money on Prize Picks. Prize Picks now offers MasterCard for quick and easy deposits into your account during the sports season. So how about Steph? Is he going to get more than 5 threes? Or Giannis more than 35? Cook up your hot takes with your friends and win real money this basketball season when you and your crew run your game on Prize Picks. And then take a look at some of the picks you can make. Hey, look, Saturday night, Bob just mentioned it. Celtics on the road. You're going to be looking for vengeance against Chicago. You're going to be looking for, I think, the overs, if you will, or the mores. Will Jason Tatum get more than 25? Will Jaylen Brown get less than a technical or more than 10 rebounds? Those are the things you're going to look for coming up this Saturday. Download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Download the app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game. Okay, Bob. The Hall of Fame, and maybe it's just because I'm getting older, but the Hall of Fame nominees are out. And let me just run them down here. Amari Stoudemire, Maya Moore, Dwight Howard, Marc Gasol, Sylvia Fowles, Mark Few, Billy Donovan, Lisa Bluter, Sue Bird, Mickey Arison, owner of the Miami Heat, and Carmelo Anthony. None of the male players blow me away here, pal. What about you?
Okay, Carmelo will get in. He scored 28,889 points in his career. That's a lot. He was a 10-time All-Star. He was an offensive machine. He was a maligned player for defense and for ball hogging, no question. He played on 6 teams, which tells you something. But still, he was an Olympian, and I wouldn't deny him. I don't hold anything against him at all. And also, he deserves credit for a wonderful year at Syracuse, freshman year, leads them to the national championship, and has become a significant donor to the program. Significant. He's thanked Syracuse in a very important way with his checkbook as well for that opportunity. I'm not a big fan of his, but I don't hate him or anything. I think he had his limitations, but all in all, I was very surprised if he doesn't walk in. Okay, I expect him to get in. However, Dwight Howard. Dwight Howard's credentials, if you never saw him play, you'd say, well, he's going to get in. He's got to get in. How can you deny a guy 8-time All-Star, 3-time Defensive Player of the Year? You know, how are you going to, the guy must have been really something, huh? Dwight Howard is the biggest piece of bleep.
Bob, what happened with him? Because I remember I even sat down when he would come to the Garden. He was so nice. He would sit there, I'd do one-on-one interviews with a guy. He'd crack jokes. And I thought, he's gifted and he's going to get better. And he just never blossomed into the player I thought he would be.
He didn't have a game offensively. He did not have a game.
Well, he didn't work at it.
He
could have.
Of course he could have, and he didn't. He spent his summers working on moves. He should have hired Hakeem Olajuwon to show him how to play low post and teach him some footwork and and hire a shooting coach. I mean, he was content with who he was. Well, guess what, folks? He wound up playing for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 teams, and every time along they found out we don't need this guy. You don't win with this guy.
Right.
He just was not. He was not serious. You hit it. He wasn't serious. He was a big clown, and then he paid for his blocking shots. That's what he did. God, I was very good at that. Fine, I'll give him credit for that. But I once said, and I'll repeat it right here: if I'm playing for my life tonight, I'd rather play 4-on-5 than have Howard be my center.
Wow.
So I will be quasi-apoplectic if he gets in.
What do you think? I don't think he's going to get in, but I always loved the game of Amari Stoudemire. Just didn't click in New York. I think he had some health problems, but I did enjoy watching him.
And when he came up, he had a low post game and he was a good rebounder. And I thought he should have just stuck to that game, but of course the game today, that he's talking to 20 years now. And he tried to branch out, and he wasn't that great a scorer. But I think he's the next level. I don't think I'll be, real surprised. I don't think he should be a Hall of Famer. No.
Not that any of us are the experts in this game, but Maya Moore and Sue Bird had pretty good careers.
Maya Moore, if they don't get in, and also this is going to be interesting because there's a cult following for Sylvia Fowles as a human being as well as a player. She's an immensely popular player in person. And Shamika Holtzclaw, go look her up. They're all worthy. 5 of them. I don't know if 5 women will get in at once. I doubt it. If only one gets in, for me, it would. I'm a big Sue Bird fan. I have been since she was in UConn. But Maya Moore was a tremendous, tremendous player. And I think that if you put a pistol to Gino's head. Name your best one ever. And if he probably wouldn't do it, but I wouldn't be surprised if he would have said Maya Moore. But she's really good.
I know, like picking the best UConn women's player of all time. Good luck.
It's like picking the best Celtic of all time.
Yeah, it's crazy. How you going to do that? I do think Billy Donovan should get in.
Okay, but those two NCAA championships do it for you? Is that it?
He's the last guy to do it.
Yes, he is. He is.
Listen, now the NBA, look, it hasn't worked out in the NBA for him, but I'm just a fan. I loved him at Providence when he played. I thought he was a great college coach. The coaching in the pros is a whole. I'm not going to the fact that he hasn't won a title or didn't win a title with OKC. I don't hold that against him. I think so much has to go right for you as an NBA coach. Like people, sorry, I'm going to preach for a moment. People have got a Doc Rivers ass, and I know Doc's your buddy, and I like him too. I think Doc has been unfairly criticized. I really do, because he did a phenomenal job with the Celtics, and if Garnett stays healthy, they win multiple titles. Yeah. And he put that whole thing together with Mbutu and created that. Then you go to Los Angeles and you're dealing with an owner and all these different personalities. Huh. In Philadelphia, look, nobody can coach the Sixers. You know as well as I do. I mean, you could bring back Red Auerbach from the dead. He can't coach the Sixers. Nobody can coach that team. So like, I look at like Doc and I just feel like it's so damn hard to win an NBA title. So I feel Doc's getting a raw deal. I got off on a tangent. No. I would not prevent that from voting for Billy Donovan. I think he was a great college coach.
Well, those two crowns, NBA titles, should speak for themselves in this regard. I think you're absolutely right. And I'm happy. I'm rooting for him too. It's a little story with him. When Rick Pitino got the Providence job, I went down and had lunch with him in Providence, and we were talking and about the roster. And he said, we got this Billy Donovan. And I told him he's got to lose 15 or 20 pounds or he can't play for me. And this is after his sophomore year. He did, and we all know what happened. They go to the Final Four. And Billy Donovan is, taking advantage of the three-point shot. That was the first year of the three-point shot.
Oh, yeah.
But anyway, so I always remember that lunch with Pitino. This kid can't play for me. Doesn't lose 20 pounds.
I love that team. I loved that team. I love it. So Donovan to me is in. And he had guys. And remember, the three dude. It was Al Horford. Shoot, who were the other two guys that played? They stayed. They could have gone pro. They stayed.
It was Joakim Noah.
Oh yeah, Joakim Noah.
Oh, Corey Brewer.
They stayed.
The NBA players. They came back.
And they came back. Now, why did they come back? Because of the coach.
Oh, no question. They were a very solid group, and they did come back for that reason, and they got it done. Yes, sir. Absolutely.
So he's in.
Now, here's a name, Mark Few. He hasn't won a title yet, and they're good. They're in the mix again this year. But that record has got to be among the handful of greatest winning percentages of all time in college sports, in college basketball. And he's been coaching now, it's up 25 years. He took over in 2000, 2001, 99, 2000, excuse me, after Gonzaga in 98, 99.
Right.
They're the team UConn beat in the Final Eight to get to the Final Four, Calhoun's first Final Four. And after that, the coach, Don Monson, he figured, we ain't going any further here in Spokane, Washington. And when the boat pulled into the dock, he got on and went and, and took what job he took, I forget. He took a higher profile job, and it never worked out, and he disappeared from sight. But Mark Few was his assistant, and here he is 24 years later with, tremendous winning percentage. And it's going to be hard to deny him, I think. It really is.
Can you think of a better job, though? I mean, if you could stay at a school, fortunately, he's got the support, but if you can stay at a school like at Gonzaga for 25 years and get players, it doesn't happen anymore.
However, they established a European pipeline. They've had many good Europeans And funny thing is, the most famous Gonzaga player of all predates him. That's Stockton, John Stockton.
Right.
Anyway, Mark Few. Then that's.
What about, okay, let me ask you this. What about Mickey Arison in that? I mean, Miami Heat are an expansion team.
Yes.
And they do okay with Alonzo, and they won 2 titles, correct? I mean, the thing about the Heat is I look at, he had the Alonzo Mourning group, then he had the Dwayne Wade group, and then they brought in Jimmy Butler.
Yeah.
As an owner, it always seemed he was trying to win. Now they're looking to unload Butler. But
yeah, that's true. And
I don't know if you know him or not, but
I don't know.
Yeah.
I knew the original group was one guy, but I didn't know. It's interesting. I don't know. I don't have any strong feeling, but any.
Yeah, I mean, I just I just look at the Heat, and I just think that I remember when when the expansion happened, we're like, the Miami Heat and the Orlando Magic, boy, aren't those stupid names,
But all in all, in terms of the kind of players that the average fan is interested in, and people that don't understand the whole full nature of the Hall, it's a down year.
No question.
Carmelo and Howard are the primary NBA names, and Doc was a one-time All-Star and a nice player, but not an all-time great. And of course, Doc also was a very, very good player in Marquette, but he doesn't have the playing profile that the other two have. It's not going to be a glamorous year. But if you're a fan of the WNBA and of women's college basketball, this is a star-studded group of 5, and so those people will be very interested to see who gets in, because they all belong in, quite frankly. And the other, by the way, Caitlin Clark's coach is Lisa Bluter. That's who that is at Iowa. Caitlin's coach.
Okay.
So, all right, and we'll see about her. Anyway, that'll be announced in January. They pare down the nominees, and then in January it'll be announced, and then the final nominees, and the All-Star. The Hall of Fame is always announced now with the Final 4, which is interesting, given But remember, what people understand is the Hall of Fame in basketball isn't like the other 3 major halls of fame that which are all exclusively professional, all baseball, hockey, football. But in basketball, the Hall of Fame was founded at a time when college basketball was equal or superior to the NBA in public esteem and knowledge, and all the beginning of the NBA of the Hall of Fame right up into the 70s was dominated by college and amateur basketball, and only after that did it become. So people think about it just as the NBA. You can get into, I don't know the answer to this, but I want to research and find out for next time we meet. Who's the last 4-year college star who didn't become an NBA star to get into the Hall of Fame? That's a good question. Been a while. Been a while. And I want to see if we can guess or take a good stab at who it might be, because and now it's never going to happen again, because great college players nobody stays 4 years or barely 3 now that with the NIL, and all. So, but it's a different Hall of Fame. It's all encompassing. It's Europe. Don't forget, it's women, it's Europe. They're all in one. Now, as a result, the college people were upset that they were losing out on coaches and stuff for a while. And we now have a college basketball Hall of Fame in Kansas City, and that's fine. And I'm glad there is, And there is a college. There always has been a college, always for a long time. It's been a college football Hall of Fame, of course. Hockey, I believe, is a United States Hall of Fame, right? As opposed to.
I don't know, Bob. I don't know.
Okay, fine. And but that's why. So people understand that the NBA. It's not an NBA Hall of Fame. It's a worldwide basketball.
Correct. Basketball Hall of Fame.
Encompassing Hall of Fame.
What is it like? I know when I speak to media members, you've said this, Jackie McMullen has said this, you're not in the Hall of Fame,
no,
but you've been honored by the Hall of Fame.
No, well, this is the NBA, this is modeled on Cooperstown. They've had for 50, 60 years. the Ford Frick Award for broadcasting,
Right.
and the J.G. Taylor Spink Award for sports writing, for baseball writing, and that's you got you don't have a full plaque. You get on a list, and
Yeah.
but you get in. Maybe they do have a plaque now. I'm not in that one. I don't think you do. But anyway, it's a separate ceremony, and it. But I mean, and the same thing with the Nesmith Hall of Fame, the basketball. You have the Kurt Gowdy Award, and they had two branches. Broadcast every year they name a broadcaster and a writer. I was privileged to get in 1997. And that was funny, Gary, in terms of the whole honoring ceremony, etc. That's the year that all the bleep hit the fan from Marv Albert.
Oh, and did Marv get in with you?
Yes, and I was so honored to go in with Marv, who I liked, and in terms of and he's a friendly guy. I've known him, and he's one of the two or three best basketball broadcasters ever. Okay, so in Springfield, because they wanted him to dodge the media. We had it was at a hotel, the award ceremony and the dinner, and they brought him in the kitchen entrance. I call it the Goodfellas entrance.
The Goodfellas entrance. That's right. Yeah, Ray Liotta going through the back.
They brought him in the Goodfellas entrance, and he did his thing, and then he went out the Goodfellas entrance. But I went in with Marv Albert in 1997. But I am a member of Kurt Gowdy, a recipient of the Kurt Gowdy Award, and people very graciously refer to me sometimes as a Hall of Famer. And if I'm there, I have to set the record straight. I don't want to go around people thinking I think I'm in the Hall of Fame.
Well, Danny says the same thing about Cooperstown.
As a contributor, somebody could be as a contributor, as over and above, but I don't know that anybody has been yet. But theoretically, you could be as a contributor. And you
mentioned Marv. I mean, look, I blame Fratello, but anyways, that's a side note. Marv is one of the great, everybody loved Marv up until that point, and then, whatever. For you, who were the other two great basketball broadcasters?
Frankly, Chick Hearn and Johnny, Johnny Most was a legend, and it was known, it was known outside of Boston, but Chick Hearn for sure. But for pure basketball, nobody touched Marv, I don't think at all, any better than Marv. But certainly Chick was interesting, and Chick was great because Chick coined the phrase airball,
right?
And that was universally adopted. Too bad you can't get a patent on things like that, but he couldn't. But Marv is. If you had to say who's the best, I'd say unequivocally Marv for basketball.
Marv, yeah. Well, even and then Marv, and then he'd go do hockey, and then Johnny. To me, when you look at a guy like Johnny, that became. It was so parochial and so provincial, and that's what made it great about it. Now it's different, of course, where kind of everybody sounds the same.
There'll never be any more Johnny Most. So number one, that voice to head would never get hired.
Yeah, it would never get hired.
And it's funny. I've listened to the famous Havlicek Sold the Ball record from Fleetwood Records back in 1965, and you hear Johnny's voice deepen as a lot of people's do over the years go on, and you hear the earlier Johnny Most broadcast from the 53, 54, and it's a much higher, not much, but significantly higher pitch.
Oh yeah.
When you hear him call the ending of the first championship in 57, as opposed to hearing him call the ending of 81 or 84, it's a very different voice.
A lot of miles on that voice, Bob.
A lot of English ovals. He imported English ovals. I guess they made camels look like filters. And
he was something else, man. He was something else.
Okay, one other thing, a name that just popped in my head: Dick Enberg. Is a very good basketball announcer.
He was a very good absolutely.
Very good baseball. He was a terrific all around. But I if I had to have a broadcaster do a game for me, the one game again, I'd take Marv.
All right, Bob, coming up next, we're going to remember Dick van Arsdale. But first, I have to tell you about Game Time. Game Time is a great place to get tickets. You put the Game Time app on your phone. You get a little app, it's got a G on it. You click it on, and you set up where you want to go. I mean, I have mine set to Boston, New England, because that's where I am. I mean, wherever you are, you can set it up for your particular area, or if you're taking a trip, you just go to that zip code. And you can see all the tickets, all the games that are going on just by scrolling on your phone. Like in Boston, you would see the Bruins or the Celtics or BC and so forth. Even a Harvard game, you can go see Harvard play if you'd like.
All right.
Time has a new Game Time feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for live events even easier. It filters out all the fluff, shows you incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time scrolling through thousands of tickets. And they have the super deal. The super deal is the single best value seat available at that time. So you always want to look for that. Plus, you can customize your spot. And also, you can look at the seat. Before you buy them, you get the seat view, which is tremendous. Lowest price guarantee, event cancellation protection. They even have job loss protection. So Game Time and Game Time Picks. The lowest price guarantee or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. So download the Game Time app today. I have it on my phone. Create an account. Use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CLNS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It is game time. Bob, I remember the 1976 NBA championship. We've talked about it at length as you were staying in enemy territory at Paul Westphal's house. I don't hold it against you. But I do remember Dick van Arsdale and the wristband and the blonde hair playing for that team. And he and his twin brother played in the NBA. And you informed me today, sadly, he passed away. Dick, that is.
For people who don't know, the Van Arsdales, Tom and Dick, were from Indianapolis. They went to Manual High School in Indianapolis. They were 6'5", blonde-haired. As someone said to me yesterday, Robert Redford, good looking.
Right.
And blonde-haired, and they're very reminiscent of Robert Redford. And they went to Indiana University together. And in the course of their 3-year varsity career, Tom had 1,252 points. Dick had 1,240. Tom had 12 more points. Tom had 723 rebounds, and Dick had 719 rebounds. Tom had 4 more rebounds in 3 years of play. They got to the NBA. In the 1965 draft, Dick was the 10th pick in the first round of the New York Knicks. Tom was the 11th pick of the first round for the Detroit Pistons. Dick went on to be put up for expansion by the Knicks and went to Phoenix, where he spent the rest of his career and his life in his life. Tom went to the Pistons and embarked on a career that took him to Detroit, to Philadelphia, and eventually to I said Detroit, to Cincinnati and Philadelphia, and then I'll get to the final story. In the course of their NBA career, Dick had in 929 games, he had 842 more points. Tom, in the course of 921 games, had 135 more rebounds. They were the same player. They were exactly the same player. And I remember this. I remember writing a story about it. John had not a story, but referring to it. John Havlicek told me. And I remember this. They each had the same patented move, a spin move. You could not tell one from the other ever. Okay.
Did they ever switch?
I'm going to get to that. They each made 3 All-Star games. Okay. All right. Now, the one significant difference. Dick played 921 games career, and he played in 34 playoff games, including 6 in the 1976 finals against the Boston Celtics that you have just alluded to. Tom, the same player, telling you, played in 929 games, 2 fewer, 8 more, and played in 0 playoff games.
Wow. Now,
he played for horseshit teams, of course, including the 76ers of 1972-73, who won a record low 9 games, 9 and 73. However, at the end of the 75-76 season, when the Suns are coming off a finals appearance, losing to the Celtics, including the historic triple overtime game 5, Tom gets his way to join brother Dick. They're going to play together in the NBA. Well, this is fine. One little problem. Suns didn't make the playoffs that year. 1 year after going to the finals, which remember they did with a 44-42 record, by the way.
I forgot that, but yeah.
Upsetting the defending champion Warriors in a game 7. Okay. Tom goes to the Suns. They do not make the playoffs. They each retire after that year.
Wow.
Together. So guess what the Suns do the next 8 years? They go to the playoffs. I mean, poor Tom.
Poor Tom.
So the only year in a 9-year span they don't make the playoffs is the year he goes to join his brother Dick. So they spent the rest of their lives together in Phoenix. And Dick had Tom didn't, I don't know about his association with the team, but Dick was an interim coach 1 year and a broadcaster several times and an administrator. And they spent the rest of their lives together with their families in Phoenix. And the one final coda is a few years ago, Dick suffered a stroke. And though he did not fully regain his speech ability, he didn't lose his physical dexterity of his hands, and he became an artist. He had artistic, and he's a legitimate artist. But they are unarguably the best basketball twins ever. Okay, we have the Lopez's, but Robin is the sub. Brooks good.
Right. Brooks was the player.
Argue Brooks better than either Tom or Dick, but Robin isn't anywhere near that category.
Right.
And then you've got the Markieff and Marcus Morris guys. They're NBA players, but they're not all-stars. They're not 3-time all-stars like that.
Right.
Not the, so the basketball, they're the answer. Now we can argue in sports. Oh boy, the Sedin twins probably you would argue with the that's a different level. And 2 sets of football twins. One of them we can speak to, the McCourtys.
Yeah. And
the other one is Tiki and Rondé Barber. They're pretty good.
I mean, I would even put TK and Rondé above the McCourtys. I mean, Devin was great. I don't know if Jason was as good, but when you're pointing, the 2 I would compare to the Van Arsdales would probably be Tiki and Rondé because they both won Super Bowls, didn't they?
Well, I think so.
Yeah, I mean, so those 2 guys had great success, and so did the Van Arsdales. I mean, they're both close to each other.
Maybe the most productive twins of all that I can, and maybe I'm forgetting something obvious, are the tennis-playing doubles player and Bryan twins. They won over 20 majors.
That's how you're right. I have no clue about that.
They won over 20 majors, the Bryants. So, that's it. Anyway, why one little, neither here nor there anecdote about the Dick van Arsdale. Oh, answer your question. Did they ever switch? I remember asking one of them that question. I don't know which one. It could have been either one. Doesn't matter. Same person. And in the Little League, they did it once, they said. But they claimed they didn't do it elsewhere. They could have done it any night of the year, and only their wives would know. Okay. In the 1970 All-Star game, my first All-Star game that I covered in Philadelphia, and it was and that was when we flew in the morning and played the game at night. It's not like it is now. And the only ceremony was a luncheon. Okay, luncheon, and it was snowing in Philly that night. Not heavily, but enough to cause traffic problems and everything.
Oh yeah.
And I got a ride over from a friend early. No, it wasn't on the media bus. It was the media bus and I'd beaten him over there. And for some reason, long story short, Dick van Arsdale was there as well. But the rest of the team was on a bus that was stuck in traffic and they were late. And I had Dick van Arsdale all to myself in the West locker room before the game. As a writer. Not that there was any great scoop to get, but it was just a nice social chat, and everything. And that was my first year on the beat. So I was anxious to meet as many people as I could.
Oh, sure.
And so so that's my little moment with a solo moment with a Van Arsdale. So, but it's a wonderful chapter in NBA history, the Van Arsdales.
Good stuff as always, Bob. Bob, Ryan, Gary Tanguay here, brought to you by Prize Picks, the exclusive daily fantasy partner of CLNS Media Network. Pick more, pick less with Prize Picks. Bob, you have a fantastic holiday, a terrific Christmas, my friend.
Great, yes.
Enjoy, and we'll be back at it in the new year. And we'd like to thank all the viewers and listeners as well.
One more thing.
Yes.
Hey, Celtics, get back on defense.